Would you rock out on this guitar? What's up everyone, I'm Jack Fossett and today we are checking out the Pearson Hyper J acrylic headless guitar. This is really fun for me because this is obviously so off the beaten path of stuff that I usually review, and it actually fits in. The timing is just absolutely perfect. It fits in with this sort of new road I've been going down, which is playing stuff that you're not used to and playing things that don't necessarily represent what you've always done, more visually than tonally. I want to say visually. Now, the first video I did in a series of this kind of theme was a talk video where I talked about how we really buy guitars primarily for their looks, because when you break it down sound-wise, the similarities are much closer sound-wise than they are looks-wise, and obviously the way that we present ourselves is a big part of the musician experience, the guitar playing experience. Now, the second video that fit this theme was when I recently got my hands on a Gibson Explorer and did a video with a Gibson Explorer. And that's a cool guitar that I've always admired but never really pictured as one for me. This one fits that bill again perfectly. This is not only is this a headless guitar, but it's an acrylic and aluminum headless guitar. This thing is just super, super cool. It's got this acrylic top. Now this comes in a number of different finishes, and then it has this aluminum back plate kind of bracket that holds it together with the tuners down at the bottom. Roasted maple neck and rosewood fingerboard, and it has Alnico 2 humbuckers with coil splitting. It's really fun because one of the things that this type of thing does for me is it allows me to step outside myself. See, I probably, like many of you, do think consciously about, okay, what guitar shape, sound represents who I am musically, and then you kind of try and, you know, build up your persona, so to speak, your image kind of, and it all sort of plays back to who you want to tell the world you are musically. But sometimes when you step outside of that person, you play more freely. That's the fun thing that I found. It is, you know, on this guitar, I know people wouldn't expect me to play a guitar like this. And so in playing it, I'm able to just sort of like let go of any of the image side of it. I'm not saying the image side of it is shallow. I think it's actually important in a way. I think it's a way, again, of displaying to the world who your influences are, how you see yourself. But again, stepping outside of it's not a bad thing either, and just sort of saying, like, I'm just going to play, and that's all that's going to matter. Now, it looks really cool, so I'm not saying that it doesn't look cool. I love the shape, and it's got this kind of unique, clear acrylic bottom piece that allows you to play it more comfortably. Now, I actually have some experience with a headless guitar. I've never owned one before, but my neighbor Mark, who's my neighbor when I was growing up, and he was one of the first guitar players I ever got to know. He's a fantastic guitar player. He's worlds better than I am. He had a Steinberger, which was really good. And he used to just absolutely have a blast on that thing and really jam out on it. And so I've always kind of had this affinity for, you know, like the headless guitar. And that was like a nothing guitar. That was like the, you know, almost looked like somebody took a flying V and shaved it down to almost nothing with no head on it. And he just loved it, and he just had a blast playing it, which is kind of the experience I'm having with this one. Now, tonally, you do notice a difference. Now, interestingly, I noticed the difference more on single coil mode than I did on humbucking mode. And it also brings up the tone wood debate. Now, tone is cumulative. There are a lot of things that add up to the tone. This still has a classic sound with the Alnico 2 humbuckers. The acrylic and aluminum body definitely gives it sort of a different sound quality. There's a little bit of like a pinginess to it. It's not a bad thing. It's a cool thing. It's just different from the wooden body. So I think, you know, the body material does make a difference tonally, even if it's a small part of the tone, but it's not necessarily good or bad. It's really a matter of personal preference. I think this guitar, one of the benefits of it is with that sort of pinginess and a little bit less sustain to my ear, it would cut through really beautifully in a band mix. Now, it has a modern C-shaped neck. One of the things that I actually really like about it is that the single coil mode, the coil splitting, really sounds good. I'm very, very finicky about coil splitting. A lot of times I think coil splitting is just kind of like, oh, why don't you know, take my humbucker and make it sound like a cheap, noisy single coil. This doesn't do that. I really enjoyed it on single coil mode. And again, in single coil mode, I kind of got more of that pinginess, more of that like, hey, this guitar is not made of wood. And that's kind of the neat thing. It sounds a little bit different. Now, I did collaborate with Pearson on this review. They reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in it. And again, I thought the timing was absolutely perfect. But I want to know all of your honest opinions about it. Obviously, I have a vested interest in people being interested in this. Now, it's a high quality instrument. It plays great. It sounds great, which you can hear in the video. And also, they've given me an affiliate opportunity. So if you go to their website and order one of the guitars and use code JACK, not only do you get 5% off, but I also get a little commission off that. They're also very reasonably priced to begin with. So that being said, you know, even saying like, hey, I have an interest in your interest in this guitar, I also want an honest kind of conversation about it because, again, I think ultimately we buy or don't buy guitars based on their looks as one of the most significant factors in what we purchase. And I'm curious to those of you who follow me, because obviously my channel is more geared towards classic gear. I'm curious how many of you are the types who would experiment with something like this. How many of you are the types who look at this and go, that's really cool, that's a different avenue I'd be interested in, versus how many of you kind of go, geez, that's neat, but that's really too much for me. That's different. That's out of my ballpark. I'd love to hear your honest thoughts in the comment section. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a playthrough, both clean and overdriven, and I'm going to start on single coil mode, go neck, middle, bridge, then kick it up to humbucker mode, and then go backwards, bridge, middle, neck. Now, when I'm doing overdriven, what I'm going to do is on single coil mode, I'm going to use the Ibanez TS808. And then when I kick it up to humbucker mode, I'm going to switch over and use a Fulltone Plimsoul. So you can hear it not only in single coil, kind of like a bluesy sound, which is really cool that this, you know, something like this can get a neat bluesy sound, but then you can also get a heavier gain sound. I think a lot of players who play this type of guitar are into heavier genres, which is not as much what I do, but I want to give you all a fair shake and give you the opportunity to hear this with some cool overdriven sounds. So again, if this is something that you're interested in, go to their website and use code JACK. You get 5% off, already pretty reasonably priced. Let us know what you think in the comments. I'm Jack Fossett. Stick around for some more tone. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the video.